back to I Was Thinking with Nafis and Simone. I'm Nafis.
And I'm Simone, and thank you for listening to this podcast. I am just going to say right now, all of us are a little delirious right now. Just a little tired. Life is getting to us. I might sound more tired than normal, so please excuse us for this episode. Mm-hmm. But we're back. Continuing talking about Avatar, which I thought was only going to be one episode, and it ended up being more. We talked a lot.
Oh, we did.
We did, yes. And back with us, and she was here for part 1/season 1. We brought Macy. Welcome, Macy, our regular smegular guest.
Hello. Happy to be regular schmegular, geez.
Not.
I get what you're saying.
Okay. I didn't want to sound offensive, but I didn't know how to apologize or to. Yeah. I love having you here, Macy.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
If I didn't, I wouldn't have you here all the time.
Yay.
As long as the feast is okay with it.
Sorry, I muted myself accidentally. I'm more than okay with it.
Is she okay?
I'm good.
Are you okay? Okay, I was gonna say, are you okay, Nafis?
I'm good. I need my own studio.
I need more coffee.
Oh gosh. I just need more sanity.
I think we all do.
Laugh through the pain, Simone. Laugh through the pain.
Yeah, just keep smiling and nodding.
Like
and
the penguins of Madagascar. Just smile and waves. Smile and wave.
Princess waves, honestly.
Princess waves, you know. Distract you from I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm losing my train of thought more than normal. Avatar, The Last Airbender.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
A topic that makes us very happy, unlike what we're going
Back
through.
to our childhood.
Yes.
And so we are talking about season 2.
Yay.
Which is what? What book is this? Is this considered Earth?
This is Earth, yeah.
Yes. We didn't mention season 1, but season 1 is...
I don't think we talked about that.
Yeah. Season 1 is technically book water, which makes sense because, you know, they find Hitara and Sokka and like the water tribe. They go to the northern water tribe to learn water bending. So this one is where Aang tries to focus about learning earth bending. And like the first part, I took my favorite episodes, broke them down, and we're going to talk about them. Oh, dang it. You know, it's fine. It's fine. I meant to go back and watch Zuko alone so we could talk about it, but I didn't. So it's fine. We're just not going to talk about it. But it is also one of my favorite episodes.
I was going to say, if you can give me like a brief summary, I'm sure I remember it.
Okay, when we come to it, I will let you know. But me, for some reason being me, I like to go in order. So let's go ahead and start. Before we get to an actual episode, I took like a couple not PowerPoints. Oh my god.
Bullet points?
Bullets and points. Thank you, Macy. So I said this is not an episode, but this is the season where we finally meet Zuko's sister Azula and Toph. Zuko and Iroh, after the events that happened in the Northern Water Tribe, they end up becoming, basically Azula tries to trick them and saying like, oh, they don't have to worry about finding the Avatar anymore, they can come home, but she was really there to arrest them. So now they're fugitives in the Earth Kingdom.
She's a scary character. Psycho.
She is a scary character.
She is like one of the best villains ever made. Like, wow.
She really is. And you forget that she's only what, like I think 14.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, like when I was younger, I was like, wow, this girl is scary.
She's like super manipulative and like her age doesn't come across it at all. Like she seems way older.
Well, I mean, none of their ages do.
That's true, but
on YouTube they have like this whole video of like the psychology behind her character. It's like really interesting, like why she is the way she is and how like her mom leaving has to like do with how she ends up being who she is now.
I also love sometimes like on TikTok, I have TikTok, but I barely use TikTok. Sometimes the voice actress of Azula will come in and like do her voice on like certain things, and it was just like really cool. I'm like, oh, my childhood.
Have you seen the one of I don't know his name, who plays Zuko?
I don't know his name either, but I love his voice.
Yeah, there's a clip of him talking about how he went to Starbucks one time and he was giving his Starbucks order, and he just sounds like Zuko all the time. Like it's not a voice he puts on.
I think that's literally just how he talks.
Yeah, and so the barista was like, "Are you Prince Zuko?" And he was like, yeah. And she's like, "Oh yeah." It was really cute.
So funny. That's adorable.
But just imagine, he's like, imagine Prince Zuko saying like, yeah, can I get like one iced mocha frap with like just the way he said it. He orders like a super like frilly drink.
That does not sound like something Zuko would order. Well, maybe not at the beginning when he was still devastated from, being banished and all that.
Mm-hmm. I just thought
yes, it was. And then I also, because I didn't take notes on the episode we meet Toph, so I just quickly wanted to point out the blind bandit when we do get introduced to Toph, and then learning how special she is because she is blind. So she, learned earthbending through badger molts.
The vibrations. Oh, okay, I was going to say the vibrations in her feet.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm getting ahead of myself, but we learned how she learned earthbending in like season 3, but she learned through badger moles because apparently badger moles are blind too, and they taught her like how to feel the earth. So she feels them through her feet, basically. Yes, the vibrations and everything.
She's probably my favorite. Jinx.
She's sassy. She's so clever and like so smart. Like she is the best character. I like Katara too, but she's kind of annoying at times. And I'm like, girl, calm down.
I used to be a huge Katara fan, and then as I got older, I started leaning more towards Toph.
No, Toph is my spirit, and I related like automatically.
Yeah, I just love like under your breath sarcastic characters. They're usually my favorite, and she's the epitome of that.
Well, actually, she's more in your face than under her breath. So
well, she does both.
Yeah, she does both.
But like. Yeah.
Sokka's actually pretty sarcastic too.
He is too. He's probably in my top 3, if not the second favorite for me.
Yeah.
And I used to not like Sokka at all.
Me neither. He grew on me.
Yeah, I don't think I liked him in the beginning. But then as the show went on and as I watched it as an adult again, I appreciated him more.
I was gonna say, because like when you watch it as a kid and you watch it as a adult, I feel like your characters of who you not admire but like kind of switch. At least it did for me, because I was able to understand the characters I didn't like more and see why they acted that way, so I can understand better, compared to as a kid I'm just like, why are they acting like this?
I think the characters I liked when I was younger are still my favorite. I did, however, started appreciating Iroh more. Like, his wisdom just went over my head as a kid, but, like, now I'm like, wow, that's some deep stuff.
What? I used to always love Uncle Iroh. He was always my favorite.
Yeah. He's another one that's, like, he has really good, like, hidden humor.
Yes.
Like, he says things that are really funny. This show in general, it has really good comedy in it that, like, is, like, as an adult, you can watch it. You know how, like, a lot of kids' shows will hide, like, adult humor in there, not necessarily adult themed, but just a little bit higher level comedy.
I mean, some of them are adult themed, but
yes. But I feel like this show has a really good amount of just comedy in general that you can get if you're paying attention.
Yes. These are all good points. Very good points. I'm sorry. I'm so awkward.
Somebody needs to bring you back to life.
Right along.
That was so robotic.
You know who that reminded me of? That reminded me of what's her name? Oh, when they go to the Earth Kingdom. And
are you talking
Judy.
about May? Oh, Judy. I thought you were comparing me to May. Azula's best friend, one of Azula's friends. Because I used to...
May? I love May.
May's funny too. She's the most dry.
She's so
sarcastic.
I love her sarcasm.
Yeah, I used to relate to May on like a spiritual level as a child. I still kind of do sometimes. I'm not as moody as I used to be like her, but I related to her a lot. Tylee kind of got on my nerves a little.
Yeah. I feel like Tylee was just too bright, and I'm like, I don't do bright.
She was bright with good intentions.
Yeah, I think she was bright, but on the outside. But, like, she's got a little bit of character development, I think, too, because she struggles with the whole, like, everybody likes her, but she doesn't really, she ran away to the circus, all that crap. So she's got some issues, obviously, underneath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we'll talk all about all that.
They actually
later.
talk about
yes,
that
in season 3.
Yeah.
Let's go to season
Yeah.
2 because we keep jumping around. I also keep jumping around. But let's start off with the Cave of Two Lovers, which me and Macy were singing last time. Yes. So for this one, this is where we already knew Aang had a crush on Katara, but I guess in this one is where it's kind of picked up more. So they make it more apparent the more time they spend together. And this is where we meet this world's versions of hippies, or like nomads, because they're nomads. They call themselves nomads. So
yeah.
The nomads tell the group about a secret tunnel that will help them get through to avoid the Fire Nation, who they end up running into. And then they're like, okay, we'll take the tunnel instead. And then the Fire Nation that was chasing them actually ended up trapping them in the tunnel. So the way they came in, they couldn't go back out if they decided to. Let's not do this anymore. No, you're kind of trapped here. So the tunnel is actually said to be cursed, and those who let love guide them. There's another reason why I'm like robotic when I'm saying this, because it talks about love and I'm kind of just like, not love. Yay. We all know how I feel about love. Anyway, so those who let love guide them are the only ones who can successfully exit the cave. But then they end up getting separated. So they get separated with Aang, Katara, and Appa, and then Sokka with the nomads and Momo. And Sokka's very happy about that because, he's not very into the let just life take you, ride the wave type of spirit.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, see him freak out over and over and over and over again in that episode was hilarious.
Didn't he have like I feel like I remember him like face palming so many times that he had like a red mark
towards the end
from his hand.
And then when it's the leader of the nomad, he's like, wait a minute, guys, don't get surprised. I think this kid's the Avatar.
Or when they were like in the cave and Sokka was like, okay guys, come up with an idea to get out. And this dude had an idea for a whole hour brewing in his mind and he just didn't occur to him to share.
Well,
that was a funny reaction.
It was. So Katara and Aang, while they were lost trying to find their way out, actually found the tombs of the two lovers that the legend was based off, who created the cave. A man and a woman who met on, this is their history that they find written by their tombstones. Sure.
Stones.
I already can't talk today, if you can't tell. So the story goes, it's about a man and a woman who met on a mountaintop. Oh my god. A mountaintop. Why?
I'm just your autocorrect.
Mason really is. Okay, hey God.
It's okay, we all have those days.
Give me a moment. I'm only human, people. I'm only human. Okay, let's start over. This is all staying in. I don't care. This is about a man and a woman who met on a mountaintop that divided their two villages, who just happened to be enemies, like the old story that we know, fighting, constantly at war with each other. What does that sound like, guys?
It's similar to Romeo and Juliet.
Bing, bing, bing. Macy got the right answer.
I'm good.
There you
Give myself
go.
a little pat on the back.
So just like I said that Toph learned earthbending, they also learned earthbending through badger moles, and they were actually considered I think the original earthbenders, if I'm remembering correctly, and they became the first human earthbenders. So they created the tunnels in order to meet each other in secret. And then one day the man didn't come and meet the woman because he ended up dying in the war between the two villages. So the woman, of course, went on a huge rampage, almost destroyed both the towns, but instead declared that the war was over and that the two towns helped her create a new town to live in peace. And guess what city that was, guys?
Omashi or Omashu?
Omashu.
Yeah, I was like, Omashu.
Yes.
Yeah, I was not sure how to say it.
Yes, it's the great city of Omashu. It was named after the two lovers. I can't remember whose name was who. I think the man's name was Oma and the woman's was Shu, or it's switched, but I think I'm right the first time.
I have no idea.
I know.
I don't remember their.
I don't remember either. They say it in the show, but
look at Avatar coming up with couple
I know,
names.
right?
Ship names? Yeah, they named a city after their ship name.
Really clever though, if you think about it.
Yeah.
I almost forgot about that too when I was watching it the second time. Like, oh yeah, that's where the name of City Omashu comes from. Where we met our favorite guy, the Cabbage Man.
My cabbages.
My cabbages.
I love the descent of the voice. He like trails off.
Right.
So basically, I guess the whole theme of this episode is love is brightest in the dark. So, I mean, instead of metaphorically, the reason that they said that is because there are crystals that light up in the dark, and that's how they're able to find each other. So when their fires went out, and so they're able to meet up. But do you guys interpret that saying into anything else? Love is brightest in the dark.
I mean, maybe like if you're, I don't know, if you're in a dark place, not necessarily romantic love, but like self-love as well can pull you out of that. Maybe. That's the only thing I gleaned from that, but my brain is not working
Our brains
today.
aren't functioning today. What about you, Nafis?
Yeah.
I don't know.
This would have been a great question for like Matt and Rebecca.
It could.
Yeah.
I feel like the whole, like, you could even say that, like, just the general themes that, like, love is blind as well. Like, you don't necessarily need to see the light, and the badger moles are blind. Maybe that correlates a little bit. But
Maybe. Like love is blind. Like love is, what do you mean by love is blind? Like how are you saying that? Because sometimes they say love is blinding as a way to like distract you of things.
well, I was thinking more like it's what on the inside that counts. Love is blind. Like, you don't need visual cues in order to know that you love someone based on like what's in their heart. Sounds kind of cheesy, but that's what I meant by it.
I guess that depends on the person, though, because that doesn't work for everybody.
No. Well, I mean, there's, I feel like, you can be like, it's separate. Physical attraction and like mental attraction are two different things, but you need both in order to really make it work, I think.
Yeah, because physical attraction is what gets you there, but it's really like the other like personality.
It's the mental attraction that keeps you there.
Yeah. I feel like, I do feel like though, if you're mentally attracted to someone, they become more physically attracting to you over time though,
Very true.
Yeah.
on some level.
Yeah.
But you need to have some basis for that.
Mm-hmm.
Because attraction's in the eye of the beholder. Trust me, I would know, especially
Yep.
growing up having crushes that people would make fun of me for. I'm like, well, why does it matter? As long as I think that person is attractive, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
We won't talk about
Yeah.
vice versa, but I'm just saying, explaining my reason of being attracted to that person. So I was always the one to like a personality. Well, I mean, obviously, I'm not going to lie. We're all humans. I still need to at least be somewhat physically attracted to you. But the personality can make you go from like a 7 to a 10.
Yeah, it's definitely a combination of both. And I think I lean more towards mental. But of course,
Yeah, same.
everyone has a type. Everyone is physically attracted to certain things. So like, it's just part of your anatomy.
And that doesn't even have to go into like couples relationship. I feel like love is brightest in the dark too. Like if you just need a friend to lean on or something like that, or a family member.
Yeah, exactly. Or like I said, self-love, you know, like, because if you can learn to love yourself, it brightens your whole world, I think.
Look at Macy getting all deep.
Working on it.
Okay, are we ready to not talk about love and move on?
Sounds good.
Yeah. Was that what you were getting at? Because you asked us what we thought of it.
I just wanted to hear y'all opinions. I just wrote down questions. Yeah.
Okay.
'Cause you guys are better.
Did you have an answer?
Not really. I was going to see if my answer would come from you two, because you guys are better at explaining stuff than I am. So like I can come up with the questions, listen to you guys, and then just give my opinions based off your answers.
I don't know. I feel like you have good explanations too.
You always tell me that, and I feel like especially when I'm listening back, I feel like sometimes I'll start talking, try to get my point across, but then when I get confused on what I'm saying, or like feel like I don't know how to end it, I'll just stop talking, or I'll be like, oh, and then just kind of end it that way. I don't know. Or say stuff like that. A lot of fillers.
You have good ideas, but your vocalizing them aren't always
Yes.
good. I think that's what you mean. I think you do fine, but I think that's what you're trying to say.
Exactly what I'm trying to say. Thank you. See? My point exactly.
Again, autocorrect.
My example. Yeah, and I'm especially not a good at expressing my feelings when it comes to feelings. So that's another thing.
I feel you on that
I don't
one.
like talking about my feelings. It hurts my feelings.
Pretty much. Okay, so let's move on to, honestly, I think this is like my favorite episode one of my favorite episodes out of the whole series. I mean, I love the series in general, but this one's like in the top 5. It's the swamp episode. First bulletin I put, why do the swamp people remind me of people from Florida?
See,
You think I'm lying?
I mean,
I'm
I feel
lying.
like,
I made that connection, honestly.
yeah, I feel like, have you ever seen the movie Princess Frog?
Yes.
This swamp reminds me more of a Louisiana swamp than
You
a
mean
Florida
the physical
one.
swamp or the
That is
people?
true.
Because I'm talking about the people.
Not necessarily the people, but the physical swamp and a little bit the people. But I would say that it's a combination of, like the fireflies in Princess Frog. They remind me of the people version of those fireflies.
I could see that.
But I do agree with the Florida thing as well.
Except for the main leader, because he's actually compassionate, so.
Yeah, they're more like, I don't want to use the word dumb, because they're not dumb. They're just like, they come across like Florida. I feel like we have a lot of, I don't want to use, these are bad words. I was going to say
Don't go there,
redneck,
Macy,
but
don't
I
go
don't,
there.
I don't
Just
like
don't
those
go
either.
there.
Yeah, no, I changed my mind. The physical swamp, though, it reminds me more of the Louisiana swamp.
I didn't think of that.
But I get what you're saying about the Floridian
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, I get it, but I can't like put it into words. But I
Yeah.
understand what you mean. Yeah,
That's why I just put it in a question mark, because
Because we have swamps here, but like they're more like open water. Like we don't have the trees, like the vines and stuff. That reminds me more of like Louisiana agriculture.
what about the Everglades? I never actually went to the Everglades before, though.
I haven't been there either, so I don't know.
me neither.
I just think of like, I'm thinking of like our backyard swamp, over in like, have you ever been to the Loop? It's like closer to, I guess it's closer to DeLand, but it's like open marsh fields rather than like swamp,
I've never been there, so I don't know.
you know?
Never been there either.
I'm not explaining it well, but like
That's okay.
the swampland depicted, it reminds me of like true swampland, which when I think of swampland, I think of Louisiana rather than Florida, is my point.
I've never been to Louisiana either.
We have gators.
Yeah, we do have gators.
I don't know if there gators in that episode. I think there might be at some point.
There is one.
Well, all the animals are like a mixture of something, so it's like a gator mixed with something.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's mixed with, though.
But
Is it like a beaver? Is it mixed with a
maybe.
beaver? No, it's mixed with a catfish, I think.
You're right, yeah.
I think it's an alligator mixed with the catfish. I don't know what it's called, though.
Yeah. Now, catfishes are both in
Yeah.
Florida and Louisiana as well. And they have gators too. So I feel like it could be either. I don't know what they were basing it off of.
I don't know either. I don't know if there's any, because I mean the whole land is like supposed to be in Asia, like the continent. I don't know if Asia as a continent has any swamp land in it.
Yeah. Not that I know of, but I'm sure they have all kinds of different places.
I'll have to look that up.
A specific place doesn't come
Yeah.
to mind though.
Me neither. You think of any, Nafis?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, but they're back to the people themselves. They're water benders, right? And they bend the water in the plants
Yeah.
in order to create like swamp
I
plant
think only the
monsters.
chief does, because I think the others just use normal water bending. But I think the reason he is the chief because he
okay.
actually can bend the water in the swamp. So yes, he does become the swamp monster.
Mhm. Okay. Don't they try to eat Momo?
They do try
or
to
something?
eat. They try to eat Momo and
Yeah,
Appa.
they do. It did not sit well with Aang.
No, it didn't.
No.
Why are you gonna
Yeah.
eat his flying bison?
Oh, that's another thing too. Aang is a vegetarian,
Yes.
Yeah.
right? So he's not okay with eating any animals,
No, not at all.
let alone his family members. They're not
Right.
pets, they're family members.
Especially Appa. They've been through a lot together.
Oh my god.
Oh, but
Okay. Well, anyway.
Why is this your favorite episode?
Well, I will
Yeah.
let you know when I continue. And there's a saying in here also that the chief said, and I realized I think I subconsciously always remember that saying because Nafis will know this when I read it off later. But I'm like, oh my god, is this where I got this saying this whole time? But I will read it in a couple minutes. Anyway, well, I also really like this episode because it also shows like the importance of caring for nature and the earth. And you see it at first when like Aang tries to warn him and not really stop Sokka because I don't think he can really stop Sokka because, you know, he's a pacifist. So he tries to tell him to like, you know, be nicer to the plants when Sokka's like chopping down the vines when they first like land in the swamp.
Yeah, he's like machete all the way through it.
Literally. And then while they're there, the swamp seems creepy and like almost alive in a sense. So they kind of start hallucinating things and seeing people. So for instance, Sokka sees Princess Yue from the Northern Water Tribe who sacrificed herself to save the moon spirit and she was Sokka's first love, I'm assuming, right? That was really his first girlfriend.
I think he even says it at some one point.
I think so too. And then Katara sees her mother, and Aang sees a girl in a flying boar, which we later find out is Toph, because that boar is supposed to represent her family symbol, because her family's rich. So the flying boar, I guess, is their emblem. All right, and then we find out the swamp is just one big tree that branches off into miles and miles, and the leader of the swamp people relates it to the rest of the world. So like giving them quotes. So this is the quote where I was saying that I really resonate with and why I like it so much. I'm not going to read it in his voice. I'm just letting y'all know that now. But this is what he said, and I had to like pause it a couple times to make sure I wrote it down quickly. So this is when he's talking to Aang, Katara, and Sokka after he attacked them in the swamp thing and they realized like it's him. And he's telling them about the swamp and how it's just one big tree that branches out like thousands of miles. So he says, "You think you're any different from me or your friends or this tree? If you listen hard enough, you can hear every living thing breathing together. You can feel everything growing. We're all living together, even if most folks don't act like it. We all have the same roots and we're all branches of the same tree." Yeah.
That is a beautiful
Isn't
quote.
it?
It is.
That's why I like this episode so much, because I'm like, honestly, at the end of the day, whether people want to admit it or not, we are basically the same. I mean, yes, we all come from like different backgrounds, we have different cultures, but like we still function the same as like human beings. And just, I don't know. It's one of those things where sometimes I ponder like why we can't get along. I know there's other stuff like politics and stuff like that, but still.
Yeah, I feel like that relates back to what we were first talking about, is that kind of respect and love should be blind. It shouldn't matter where you come from or what you look like.
Exactly.
And I think it's like even more meaningful too, because like the war that they are in is literally to divide each nation into its own thing, but at the same time having one nation take over all of it. So like when they mention that like we all come from the same roots and everything, it's just to bring up the fact that like you guys were saying, that we're all equal, you know?
No, well, the Fire Nation's basically trying to promote communism.
I was going to say,
so
it's not to divide them. It's technically the wars who, in a weird sense, bring them together, but just not as equals. So it's trying to technically,
which is communism.
Make them all one, but just have one overpower the other, which still isn't the best. And you know what's funny? I can't say this direct quote exactly, but I remember listening to my dad talking about something on the news, and he mentioned how in America, we pride ourselves as being a melting pot, but that's actually not really a compliment, because in a melting pot, you, in a sense, even though you're mixing a lot of things together, you're still going to have like one or two ingredients that dominates the other. So it's not truly equal. What we should really be doing is comparing ourselves to like stew, because you put different ingredients together, but you can taste the different ingredients and they're all equal to make one big thing. So I don't know. I thought that was very poetic and that kind of stuck with me. So sometimes I don't like to admit when my dad gets, how the child is, but that he said he found that, or he heard that from like a preacher a long time ago. So I don't think I was around that time, but I was like, wow, I never thought of that. And that's kind of stuck with me for a while. So we shouldn't be trying to be melting pots. We should all be stews.
Melting pot sounds better though.
It sounds better, but America, in a sense,
the home of the stew.
The feast
doesn't have a nice ring to it.
I get what you're saying though, because like if I feel like just to reword it slightly, a melting pot would like merge everyone together and kind of make it bland, where like each individual piece, we're all combined to create one dish, so to speak, but each individual ingredient, you can still taste it, so that that individual type of person still stands out in a greater like sense.
Stupid question. Melting pot is not, it's not talking about a food, right? It's just talking about all things coming together as one.
I think
it's one of those,
yeah,
like,
I think it's more of a phrase.
It's a phrase, but it's like, you know, one of those phrases where it's like a simile.
Okay, but it has nothing to do with food, right?
Unless you're going to the Melting Pot restaurant in Orlando. Have you ever been there? That's fondue,
actually.
though. That's fondue. So all I can think about is fondue now, which technically would be taking a piece of something and dipping and covering it in something. But
now that's taking on a whole different meaning.
Exactly. So I don't know. But I think that when they say melting pot, I think they mean it in more of a symbolic sense, not an actual food.
It's supposed to be how we're all together and all as one, which I don't agree with.
Well, it's like if you melted a box of crayons,
it would just become one big blob.
They're all just it's all gonna one color. So like if you have like draw a picture with all of the colors, you'll be able to see all of the colors individually, but creating a picture.
Yeah,
I feel like I don't know if
I thought it was a good example.
But
see, I told you, Macy, you can voice your thoughts better than I can. So yes, so that's why I like that phrase, and it just makes me think of that in like real life where we're all.
So is that your favorite episode because of that phrase, or were there other things that made that episode your favorite?
Just things like that. And then like my last one where it's like he tells them about the swamp showing people that they lost and love because they're like once again all connected. And then my quote that I always say that I didn't really got from this was that he says time is an illusion. And I was like, is this where I get my time is an illusion?
You always say that.
I really do.
You actually said that the last time we spoke.
I said that in the future episode.
Yeah.
I'm always saying time is an illusion. I'm always like, where did I get this from? Which it is.
There you go.
Well, technically time is a social construct. We created it.
Yes, we created a lot of things where it's just a social construct, but
social constructs can still be illusions.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, it's a man-made illusion.
Because he says time is an illusion and so is death. So he even says like death is in a sense an illusion. Which also makes you think it's not an illusion in the physical sense, but I mean like the way we connect with people when we lose somebody. Like they're not always technically gone. As long as you're still here, you're going to have the memories of them. So that's how I interpret it. Like they're never actually gone. You're always going to get the feeling of like remembering them and the time you spent together. If you guys really, love each other, that's why Katara sees him.
Yeah, they live on in your memories.
So they're still alive. Even through your memories.
That's a good explanation. I like that.
Yay, I actually explained something correctly. And I also just wrote shout out to the Northern Water Tribe episodes and they saved the moon spirit because I didn't write that down. But I also really
I really like that episode.
Especially when they talk about like the dynamics of like the moon spirit and what is the other spirit? It's moon and what? Because they're based off yin and yang, but I don't actually remember.
Yin and yang. I don't know. Moon and I thought, isn't it? It's a connection to the spirit realm. Does it have something to do with spirit names? They have names. Like it's not moon and something. It's they have individual names. Down? One represents the moon.
Didn't we write this down in the first part when I was talking about the culture differences?
I don't remember.
Let me check.
I know that they have names though. Like the spirits themselves.
Ocean, moon, and ocean. That's why. Because when
but don't they have like they represent the moon and the ocean? But don't they have names?
They do, but I didn't write down the names in the show or their real names. I just wrote down what they represent, the moon and ocean, which makes sense because, the full moon is when the water bending is at the strongest. And when General Zhao killed the moon spirit at first, that's why they couldn't water bend anymore.
Yeah, well, in real life,
I don't know about real life.
The tides are affected by the moon.
Yeah, because of gravity and the moon's technically closer.
Depending on how close the moon is to the earth, the tides can be rougher.
So many connections. Don't you just love this show, guys?
Right.
Okay, so yes, that was the swamp episode. One of my favorite ones, and I might just go back and listen to his whole speech. He sounds a lot better saying that than I do, but more like, because like the actor has like such a deep voice and it like makes you think. I don't know. Yes, more wise, more zen. Okay, so only 2 more to go for this part of season 2 that I wrote down. There's like, what? How many episodes are there again? Like 20?
Yeah, I'm forgetting which. I won't say it right now, but I can't remember.
Combine 2 episodes into 1 episode, and then they do it again for another one. So technically, there's like 20, but they bring it down to 18.
Okay.
At least that's what it's like on Amazon Prime. I don't know about anywhere else.
I don't know.
I think
probably.
You're right.
I mean, I know because in season 1 they combine. Well, not the first 2 episodes, because like when they were showing it on TV, the first 2 episodes were 1 episode, but they combined the Northern and the Northern Water Tribe one, and then the Guru one in season 2, and then of course Sozin's Comet, which is the last one.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Anyway, let's move on. So the next one is Avatar Day. And it sounds so great, right? But it's not. It's the complete opposite.
No,
So Aang thought was a day of a celebration of the avatars in this small village that they come across. It turned out to be a day to basically crucify and shame the avatar. And Aang quickly learns that the Fire Nation are not the only people that don't like him. So I think this is real first reality of like
reality check
of not everyone who is not the Fire Nation adores the Avatar.
Yeah.
So
now they hate a specific avatar, don't they?
Yes.
Kyoshi?
So they hate the Avatar ever since Kyoshi because they blame Avatar Kyoshi for killing a beloved general around their time, which caused them to, like hate her and all the reincarnations. But it's really only Kyoshi, Roku, and Aang, because those are the only avatars so far after Kyoshi.
They burn a giant statue of her,
of all
or
of
like
them.
like
a wooden one. They like kept paraded down the street, and then towards the end they line them up and then burn them.
Yeah, okay, they are 3 of them. I forgot that they burned Aang and Roku as well.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. After her, they just end up hating all of her reincarnations because they don't blame Kyoshi herself. They blame the Avatar, not Kyoshi as the person. They Kyoshi as the Avatar. So,
but I think it's actually really important, like that episode, because like you said, it was a reality check, but it also like brought him perspective on like what he needs to do. Like if he never went there and like actually proved to them that like no, this did not happen, there would still be that misunderstanding like the Avatar is not what everyone thinks he is.
Yeah, true. I mean, so yes and no, because he does go on like a mini trial to prove that Kyoshi was innocent. But this is one of those things where it's like, it's not really a black and white scenario, because towards the end, you kind of learn how Kyoshi Island came. So Kyoshi Island was a part of that village and it was connected off a cliff. So I guess to protect her people, because they were 2 separate villages, but they were just connected by land, she separated it, and the general was just too stubborn to move because he was standing where she was dividing the island and pushing away, and he just fell. So I mean,
so technically, she did kill him. I
think
she even
she
says
killed
that
him
in a vision.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But technically not.
She's like, yeah, I admit it. I did what they said. But
she was doing it. Yeah.
She was doing it to protect her people. But if he moved, he wouldn't have died. So did she really kill him?
Yeah, he could have saved himself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, they still blamed him, and they wanted to, what was the punishment? They had like a little spinning thing. I remember the spinning wheel of punishments, and then Katara was like, community service, please land on community service.
The wheel of punishment.
And he ended up getting, boil and oil?
Yeah.
And then they get attacked by the Fire Nation, and they're like, oh, please protect us. He's like, oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was supposed to be boiled in oil. And then he's like, wait, it's community service now. They'll help us.
No,
that was really funny.
And so he ends up helping them, and guess what? They don't hate him anymore. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
Yay.
I have a few words to say about that too, but it's just one of those things where it's like people can hate you until you do something for them.
What are you gonna do for me in return? That kind of thing.
An eye for an eye? Yes, no.
Humans are kind of savage, unfortunately.
Kind of.
Yeah, it is. It is human nature to have that mentality. Because if you don't, then it's very easy to get taken advantage of. I can see that easily happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a really hard time saying no to people, and it's hurt me in the past.
Yeah.
So I get that.
I do that too. And even sometimes at work, like I have to remind myself, like, don't be so willing to say yes to everything. I still have to learn to say no because I'm not trying to drive myself into a ground.
Yeah. I've run into that in my last like 2 years. I think I've finally learned how to say no and like speak my feelings, because for the longest time I would just say yes, yes, yes. And then when I got worn out and physically couldn't do it anymore and I said no, people were so shocked and like held it against me. So I'm like, I'm going to start being more honest and saying no more often, because I don't need these people to like assume that I'm always going to be able to say yes. And and just expect it and rely on me. And then when I do say no, they're screwed. So like,
yeah. And then they blame you for not wanting to physically exhaust yourself, because they don't want to do something.
So, you gotta stick up for yourself.
You do. You really do. You gotta speak your mind. Gotta speak yourself.
Yeah, and
treat yourself.
Be extremely honest, even if it like is shocking to the other person, because then if you're honest and you freak out or like something happens, it won't be such a shock, and maybe you can prevent that from happening. So, because if you just...
Yeah, and you don't have to be mean about it either. Like, some people, I think, confuse being honest and just saying no to, like, just being mean.
Yeah.
Sometimes, yes, it can be. But there's ways to do it where you don't have to be. And whether that person takes it as you being mean or not, that's up to them. But
yeah, it's like just letting you know, this is a lot for me. I'm really overwhelmed. This is what I'm feeling. So if I freak out, you know why, or like,
I'd rather tell you now than like explode on you.
Yeah, maybe we can relieve this area that's really causing me a lot of anxiety and stress, so that I don't, that you can, if you're honest, you can work it out more, instead of just like freaking out and leaving or getting upset or saying something that you don't mean, too.
Yeah, the workforce, man, they try to run you into the ground.
True.
Yeah, I feel like that's with everything though. My example stems more from the workplace, but if you're in a weird friendship or relationship with someone as well, if you are upfront and honest with them about something that they're doing that's bothering you, it won't seem like it's out of left field when you like blow up at them. So
yeah,
I mean, sometimes it still might come as a surprise, because either they weren't taking you seriously or they're just like, oh, whatever, you're just talking. So, like I said, it all depends on the person.
Yeah. Well, that's on the other person's listening behalf. If they're not listening to what you're saying, that's another issue.
Were they really there for you? Are they really there for you?
But I feel like it's a little difficult though to do the whole speak your mind thing at work.
It's harder to do than like I make it sound. But I have been, like, my example comes from my workplace only because I basically quit and they talked me out of it. And I was like, this is what I'm feeling. And they're like, well, don't hold it in. Tell us if this one area is struggling more, and maybe we can adjust some things. They didn't change everything for me, but they're like, don't hold it in. And from then on, I'm just like, obviously I'm still respectful and professional, but I feel like you can speak your mind in a professional way without being like, I just hate you and I don't want to do this.
Yeah. Like, you're lucky though, because you actually have like coworkers and supervisors that are telling you to tell them.
Yeah, not every place does that. And they will run you into the ground, trust me.
Yeah, not everyone is like that. They'll tell you like, hey, let us know if like something's bothering you. But when you actually do, like, they will use that against you. Like, let's say there's an evaluation or something.
Yeah, I still feel cautious. Like, I don't lay all my feelings out there. It's more so just like, I like, in a professional way of doing this is like, I made an entire list of everything I'm responsible for and what times I do them for. And I just presented it to him. Like, this is what you have me doing. And he's like, oh, wow, like, maybe we need to change some things,
The person you spoke with was a reasonable person, because like they realized it on their own. I'm telling you, you're lucky that you have reasonable people at your workplace.
Yeah, I agree with the feast on this. Not every place is like this, so.
No, for sure. But I still wouldn't, like, there's still boundaries. Even though I have a very understanding workplace and supervisor, there's still boundaries that I know that I shouldn't cross.
Yeah.
So I forgot what where we started with
Oh,
this.
is this the same episode?
It also kind of it goes into it because they were in a way taking advantage of Aang's kindness. So especially towards the end, like I was saying.
Yeah, we were talking about saying no.
Well, not just saying no. How we were talking about how these people that don't know Aang were like judging him on something his past life did, and like even after the truth came out and like the story came out, how it wasn't really Kyoshi's fault, they were still willing to blame him until they had a problem arise. They needed Aang's help. He helped them, and then all of a sudden they like love him. So
right. Well, that's another human nature thing. Is like sometimes people feel the need to like we need somebody to blame, even if they're even like a scapegoat is I think the term for it, because we don't want to blame our leader or ourselves for something that happened. So we're going to choose to place the blame on somebody else so that we don't feel as bad.
Honestly, it's easier too to blame someone else than to actually sit there and reason through what could be right and wrong.
I feel like it's really hard to apologize and like be aware of your own wrongdoings.
You all made some very good points though. Anyway, so this is the last one that I have written down for this season. It was really hard choosing these episodes, especially towards the end. Like, I had to battle between like 3 to do for this one. Well, no, technically 4. So I did write about the desert where they lost Appa. I really wanted to.
That was
the underground library.
That one was so sad. That one actually made me cry as a kid.
Yeah, I really like that. I really like that episode in general though too, because that's when they go in the underground library, right?
The library too.
There's a lot of good themes
I'm
in
not gonna
that.
lie, but that owl knowledge thing was really creepy.
His eyes and just his presence was freaky.
It was so
I thought he was actually really cool.
He was really
I
cool.
like owls. So.
I like freaky things. So, like I enjoy some like not scary things. I don't really like scary things, but I like the darker side of some stuff.
Yeah, but I wanted to bring that up too because we were talking about human greed just a moment ago. And he also talks about human greed. He said that's the reason he buried that library because people were just, especially that's where Zhao found out about the moon spirit and planned to kill him. So after Zhao left, he's like, you're just using my knowledge and power to like basically take advantage of each other. That's why I buried this and I'm going to bury it even more because I can't take the human greed.
Right, and well, the Fire Nation basically destroyed their whole section because they didn't want others to know their secrets. So,
and then you saw Toph struggling too because she can't see in the sand. So that was another thing, and then like her guilt because
that
the
was
sandbenders were able to capture Appa. So and then see Aang's breakdown, especially when they found the sandbenders and told him that they sold him.
Yeah, he kind of loses it. I'm
surprised he didn't lose it even more.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the cactus juice to bring some humor into the sadness.
Yeah. Basically, I don't know I'm not entirely sure what drug that they're trying to like correlate it with.
Some type of hallucinogenic.
I was thinking like either LSD or what's that drink that you can take? Like you go to a shaman and it's like a whole experience and they like it's like a drink what's
There's
it called?
A drink for that?
Oh my gosh, what's it called? Miley Cyrus just did it recently.
I don't keep up with these celebrities. How am I supposed to know that?
I don't either. I just remember seeing a clip of her. What's it called?
I don't know.
Oh, that's gonna bug me.
Let us know next time if you remember.
No, I've just figured it out. What they're like. I'm gonna look it up while we're talking.
Cactus juice. It'll quench you. Nothing's quenchier. It's the quenchiest. That's what he says. He like goes into this whole hallucination about advertising cactus juice.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, yeah.
You don't remember that? That's like my favorite part. I remember he used to saying that all the time. I think me and Macy did in like elementary school. Oh, the cactus juice.
Can we talk about Zuko for a second? I feel like we just never mentioned him and his struggle.
Yes, because oh my god, that's what I meant to do before we started. Like I said, I forgot to talk about Zuko alone because during the Avatar Day, that's when Zuko decides he wants to like leave and be on his own, split away from Iroh.
Yeah.
So, and then I think that goes into Zuko alone, where like he is basically traveling by himself and he goes into a town and he meets his family. And I think the little boy reminded him of himself.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember the most because I didn't take notes for it. And then we go into flashbacks of basically his childhood, how Azula was the favorite child, and how his mom was really there for him because his dad basically like disowned him. What else?
Yeah, but I was saying like Zuko's struggle is so
No,
apparent, like to the point that he gets sick.
Macy, when you left, we started talking about Zuko
We're talking
alone.
about drugs. Okay, sorry, I gotta reevaluate what we're talking about now because I'm lost.
Macy's like, I thought we were talking about drugs.
Oh.
I didn't hear the part where you switched to a new episode. I was still on the cactus juice.
Because we lost you.
Oh yeah.
This is the fun of recording people when you're not together. Technical difficulties, bad connection, the whole 5 yard. Okay, where were we?
Zuko alone, apparently, because we moved on from drugs when I wasn't here.
Did you find the drug?
Well, I was
talking about Macy.
I was trying to look it up, but then my phone freaked out. So I'll figure out what it is and reconvene the next time we speak.
Okay, but real quick before I get to our last episode, we were talking about Zuko alone.
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts, comments about the episode? Do you remember the episode?
Can you give me a little synopsis? Because I think I remember, but I don't want to start talking.
During Avatar Day, towards the end of the episode is where Zuko tells Iroh that he thinks he needs to be alone to figure himself out, so he leaves, and Iroh lets him. And then he's just like traveling alone. He ends up stumbling against this really poor Earth Kingdom village that's being basically bullied by like these Earth Kingdom well, they say they're soldiers, but they're really thugs. Like they're stealing money and food from the village. And then he stays with this family that he finds in his like the husband, wife, and a son, and their oldest son is out fighting the war, and he bonds with the little son, trying to teach him how to play with the knives that he has when he was like the blue spirit and stuff like that. And then also while he's there, he has flashbacks of his childhood, and you see his family dynamic, like how he wasn't the favorite child, how Azula was, how his mom paid him a lot of attention because he was basically just like neglected by his dad, all that stuff. And you find out, well, I don't think you find out why his mom left. No, you don't until season 3. But it's just him remembering time with his mom, and then she mysteriously comes in his room, tells him that she loves him, and then she's gone the next day.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I do remember that episode more now that you've said it. I think what I gathered from that episode a lot is there's just a lot of like stigma even against, obviously the Fire Nation has done a lot of bad, but there's a lot of stigma against them in general, like they can't be good. So even though he's like proven that he is like trying to help them, and he fights against the soldiers that are like bullying them, and he treats the family really nice, once they find out that he's Fire Nation, they like basically kick him out.
Right.
The son doesn't want him to leave, but I feel like that says a lot. Like, even though he's proven that he is compassionate and wants to help them, they're like, yeah, no, you're a Fire Nation, you gotta leave.
Yeah. Which, I mean, makes sense because, their oldest son is in the war that his nation started. But like you said, not everybody that's part of that nation either agrees with the war or even feel the same way.
Well, that's like with any war, even in like our history. Just because a country started it doesn't mean all of the people agree with it.
But yeah, I'm glad like he left on his own too, because it also gave him that reality check to like,
yes, he needed to see what was happening in the smaller, poorer towns.
Yeah, sure. Because at first in the previous episodes, it was correlated. I think it correlated with the swamp that I didn't talk about, where like they're kind of, him and Iroh are sitting and kind of begging for money. Mm-hmm. I might be getting confused with another episode. It's one of those ones where it's like, it doesn't really focus on them, but it switches to them every now and then. And like this one guy comes along and like tries to make Iroh dance so he can give him like a gold piece. And then Zuko was like furious about that because he kept saying like, we're royalty. Why are we sitting here on the street begging for money? So it showed his struggle of the power dynamic from going to a prince to, even though he was banished, he still had like a crew. He was still technically the leader to now nothing.
Yeah, good reality check. I think he probably needed it.
Yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say for Zuko alone. I probably would have said more if I wrote notes, but I wanted to mention it. I meant to write notes, but...
And doesn't Iroh get, like, captured in that episode? Or is that the next one?
No, that I think is in the finale, the last.
No, that's way ahead. You're thinking of earlier episodes.
Yeah.
Like, that's still in season 2, but I think that was before they separated.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh, no, are you thinking of season 1? He did get captured in season 1 by Earthbenders.
I'm thinking of him in that hot spring getting captured.
That was still when they were looking for Aang and them, but they still had the crew, so they still had the boat. That was before. That was in season 1.
Okay,
yeah.
I don't know why I'm correlating those 2 episodes together then.
I'm not sure either. Iroh does get sick, that I mentioned in the first part, where he eats poison berries, and these 2 women come and find them and nurse them. That's in season 2, but they already lost everything, ran away from Azula.
No, I'm thinking of the wrong episode, so don't mind me.
Okay, that's okay. It happens to the best of us.
I was also thinking, I wanted to ask, and you can take this out if I'm wrong. What episode, or what season, and what episode do they first interact with King Bumi?
Who?
Aang and them, when they meet again for the first time, and he's king.
Season 1. That's like
did that happen in season 1? Did we talk about that episode?
We didn't. I didn't write it down. Like the first time they go to Omashu when Aang like was disguising himself.
Yeah.
That's like the 4th or 5th episode, and then he meets the king, but he didn't realize that was his friend, and then he goes through all these tests to save Katara.
I just wanted to mention it because that's my favorite episode. We talked about yours, and I don't know if Nafis has one. But that is my favorite.
Well, it's one of my favorites. My other favorites is like in season 3.
Yeah.
I think most of my favorite ones are in season 3 also.
2 and 3. Yeah, towards the end of season 2 and then in season 3. So.
Okay. I just wasn't sure if we had already passed that one or if it was in the future.
Yeah, we did, because that was when they first met again, and then in season 2, I think after the Cave of Two Lovers, which I didn't write down, it's Return of the Omashu, where they go back, but Omashu got overtaken by the Fire Nation, which is where we meet May and Ty Lee, because it was May's family that was occupying Omashu, and then they had King Bumi trapped, even though he could have escaped if he wanted to. We find out later.
Yeah,
because he could still earthbend through the cage he was in. Not metal bend, but earthbend.
Yeah.
I think this was also during the swamp episode, but that's when Toph learns to metal bend, right?
No, that's later. We don't meet Toph in the swamp episode. We meet her after. I think the blind bandit comes literally after the swamp.
Yeah. Her family tries to capture her at one point, and she gets out of the metal cage, but I think that's later.
I think that's during the Guru, actually.
The Guru, yes.
Yes, because that's when they all split up. After trying to warn the king about... Hang on, because we're jumping ahead again.
Yeah,
so let me do the last episode. Okay. It's okay. But yes, the Omashu one, season 1, Macy. It's either like the 4th or 5th episode.
Gotcha.
So the last one I written down, like I said earlier, this one was really hard for me because like the last couple episodes of season 2 are like my favorites besides the swamp and the storm. The storm is also my favorite episode, which is the City of Walls and Secrets. So they finally arrived to the capital, Ba Sing Se, which is like the biggest city in the Earth Kingdom. They still don't have Appa though. So this is how they get there on their own. And then what you guys were mentioning earlier, this is where we meet good old brainwashed Judy.
Yeah.
All of our favorites. So this is where we basically find out the truth of like who's really in power of the city, the troubles of poverty and classism, because when Judy actually takes him through the city, I didn't realize this till I was rewatching it. She shows him the city in rings. So like the first ring, did they have a name? I think so. Yes. So it's called the lowest ring. So the lowest ring, and she literally says this too, is where all the poor people and the refugees that come into the city to escape the war. That's where they all are. And then the middle ring is where it's supposed to be the regular like middle class people, where like there's restaurants, university middle class family. And then the upper ring is where the rich, important people and the king live. So you see like
basically taking like the pyramid system and like amplifying it. We're gonna
pretty much
basically show you that you're less than these people by putting you in a specific section.
Yes.
So and they also are like pretty much the whole city is brainwashed because like they don't talk about the war. There's no war going on. We don't know what you're talking about. Where everything's fine and this is the best. Where everything's perfect here. Nothing's wrong.
Yeah. Because the refugees that come in, they're not allowed to talk about it because we learn about the secret organization named the Dai Li, who are basically everywhere. They're everywhere.
Basically the Illuminati.
I was going to say the Secret Service, but okay.
Okay, yeah, that too.
Because government.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're always watching if someone slips up and talks about the war. Because this is also towards the end of the episode, but this is where Jet finds, because Jet, Zuko, and Uncle Iroh actually met on like a boat to get to Ba Sing Se, and like before they actually get to the city, Jet finds out that they're Fire Nation because he sees Uncle Iroh heating up his tea. So then Jet was trying to be better and like, oh, I forgot about, you know, the Fire Nation. I improved. I'm trying to move away to start a new life after what happened when he first met Katara and them. And now he's back to obsessing about the Fire Nation and trying to expose Zuko and Uncle Iroh. So he follows them into a shop that they end up working at, like a tea shop. And when he's trying to say that they're Fire Nation and talk about the war, the Dai Li takes him and, you know, takes him back to Lake Laogai.
Him.
Yep. Lake Laogai. That's another one I struggled with if I should write down or not, but I didn't have time. I did not have time.
Yeah. Basically, you go on vacation to Lake Laogai and you come back without all your brain cells.
You come back as Judy, basically.
Yeah, Judy. Poor Judy.
I know. If that's even her real name.
Who knows, man?
Well, remember, we find out at Lake Laogai, there's like tens of thousands of Judys prepared to introduce people to the city. It's what's that? It reminds me of like a movie or something, but I'm forgetting what it is. It's basically like cloning, but they're different people. They look different. They're just cloned personalities. Wouldn't clones be the same though?
When I think of clone, I think an identical genetic match that was like created in a lab. But
right, I wouldn't consider the Judys clones.
No, that's what I meant. Like just copy and pasting their personality into people. Brainwashing. Yeah. But this episode I also wrote down because it shows the power in the game of politics, because when the gang first gets there, they can't even see the king to talk about the war, which we just mentioned is not to be talked about. The king doesn't even know that the war is happening. The king is just a puppet. Yeah, because when they first get there and they ask Judy, like, when they could see the king, she's like, oh, you guys are in luck. You're ahead of schedule. You can see him in about a month. Yeah, and they're like a month. Because they want to warn him about the comet, which the comet's going to be here before a month. Like, I think, right? Or no, it gets there before the summer solstice. They have a long time before the comet. Do they? I just feel like they were in a hurry to tell him. No, because they actually end up staying there, I think, a month and the time. Right. I think the comet was supposed to come like at least before the summer, which I don't remember the time link. Like I think 4 months or something like that. But anyway, I also wrote down the king's bear because that one scene where they were confused about the bear was funny because, you know, they have like mixture of animals. So they're like, oh, we could see the king because he's throwing a party for his bear, and they're like, platypus bear? Yeah. And he's like, beaver bear? He's like, no, just bear. A bear. And then Toph's like, this place gets weirder every day. Right. Because crossed animals aren't weird at all. Just a normal bear is weird. No. So I thought that part was funny. But yeah, and then that's where we also meet Long Fei, who's like the leader of the Dai Li. And then that's where they really realize at the party. In charge? Yeah, that he's in charge of the Dai Li. The king's the puppet. And then Long Fei's mission is to give the illusion that Ba Sing Se is a utopia and the safest place in the world within the walls. Nobody can break through the wall, immediately breaks through. Oh my gosh. Yeah, doesn't the break through the wall happen, or the attempt to break through happen before they even get inside? I think so. That little spinny thing is already there when they get there.
Yeah, but they like kind of block it off to where you can't see it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They didn't actually were able to get inside, but the attempt.
No, they were like there, but they hadn't actually gone all the way through yet.
Yeah.
So
what did you guys think about this episode? And it just shows the reality of like the games of politics.
yeah, we talked a lot about humanity, which I don't know if it's good or not.
I think Ba Sing Se is like a good, like the way they run it is like a really good representation of how some real world countries run their countries. Like they literally have sections for the upper class, the middle class, the lower class, the nobodies.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's based off of just like one location, but like a mix of different places.
No, yeah. Mm-hmm.
If not to say almost all of them, if you really think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like any city you go to, it's kind of sectioned off just by income, neighborhoods and income. And
yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like it just kind of naturally happens in cities. There's always a poorer part and there's always a richer part. It's not as like, you know, you have to go through a gate to get to each part, but I feel like it just naturally happens, which they're showing
Well, I feel like an imaginary gate in the sense, because even when I go through some cities, like you can tell there's a certain parts where you drive through where like it's the big cities, you can tell it's new, that they try to build it up, and then all of a sudden it just like changes to whether it's the older parts of the city, and that's where they try to push like the poorer people. Yeah, it's like almost an imaginary gate in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We of course we have like there's all three. There's poor, middle class, and then upper class, and you can just tell when you drive through somewhere. So I feel like it happens naturally, but then they're just really like sending it home with the whole like you're on a different level.
Yeah. And like even the promise of like the refugees finding utopia, which is really not, like they just shove them into poor places.
Yeah.
Rundown places.
But you know, I think they take advantage of that fact that they're refugees because they're coming from the outside, so they're technically running away from the war. So whatever they get inside of Ba Sing Se is like heaven for them. So
yeah, it's probably like I would imagine that they feel like, well, yeah, this sucks, but like, is it worse than what we came from?
Yeah,
it's all different. It's all different. I don't want to get too deep into like the political side in real life, but I just like how it touches on it. It shows you how this is real, you know. Not every place is perfect. Even the made-up utopia, the illusion of perfection.
Yeah, promises you don't intend to keep. Basically what they're doing.
Pretty much. All right, well, that was season 2, guys. I think we had a good discussion about these episodes.
Yeah, it's so deep for a kids show.
It is.
It really is deep for a kids show.
What did you guys think of the ending though, where Zuko decided to go back with Azula?
Betrayed them all.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so bad as a child. I wanted to be like you. I wanted to be like Tyra from America's Next Top Model. Zuko, we were rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. You did this to us.
The first time I saw that, I was so disappointed. I'm like, this dude.
But like, now that I'm older, I'm not surprised because that's what he wanted the whole time.
Yeah, he just wanted
already
to be
struggling
accepted.
Between good and bad. Yeah, because even when the Lake Lao guy episode, when he released Appa, he physically got ill because he couldn't, he was struggling just like, what does it mean to be good? What does it mean to be bad? Like where he fits in the world,
he did
basically.
So well after that. Like,
I know.
He opened the tea shop with his uncle. They had a great day.
And then he got
the second
captured.
Azula shows up, he switches right back.
Like Macy said, she's really good at manipulating.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I don't even think it's her necessarily. I think he just has the overwhelming desire to be loved and accepted by his family, which is completely reasonable and normal for most people. So I think he comes to the realization that he's got to like get rid of toxic people no matter whether they're blood or not. But I don't think he's ready to accept that at this point.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, for all the stuff he's went through the Earth Kingdom, you really think when he's presented to go back home, be loved by millions of people, accepted by his father after all these years, he was going to turn that down?
Yeah. No,
back to being royalty.
I don't think anyone would. And he's a kid still, too, so his judgment is not the best either.
Still a teenager.
But his struggle, like throughout the season, you could see the going back and forth in his thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did that really well.
Right. I just don't think it's a matter of like good or bad. I don't think he realizes what he's doing is bad. He's just so desperate to be accepted, which is sad. So,
it's sad, but it's true. It's reality.
he realizes what's important later on, so that's all that really matters. It just took him a while to get there.
Now, it's a struggle. He'd rather just go home and back to not the life he used to know, because he was still pretty much neglected, but just like the easy life.
Yeah.
Sometimes people rather do the easy life or the easy thing than the hard.
Well, it's also like a good example of like a toxic relationship. Like people who are in toxic relationships don't always realize it. They're just doing everything they can to get that person to stop doing whatever they're doing. So he's still learning how to love himself.
Yeah. But I'm happy Iroh didn't, though. I mean, I didn't expect him to. Iroh finally found peace. Well, kind of. He did stay and get arrested so that they can.
Yeah.
And I was almost scared, like, for a second, too. Like, when I was a kid, I really thought that was the end of the show. I'm like, they're really going to end this like this? I thought Aang died. I thought we were going to start over.
Yeah.
Right?
To the next cycle. And I'm like, no.
I think on some level, Iroh wanted to, like, repent for his sins on some level. Like, he's like, I had a huge part in this war, and I don't like what I've become or what I did. So I think he kind of just accepts it.
Back to not really conspiracy theory. Do you think Iroh would have been like this if his son never died in the war? Because his whole turnaround basically was because his real son died in the war.
Yeah,
honestly,
I think that's the catalyst.
I don't think he would have changed. He may have become softer in a sense, but not to this degree, where he is like completely against this whole war and everything with it.
Yeah. I think it was the thing that made him open his eyes. So.
And see how terrible it was. Because that's another thing we didn't talk about, that one episode where it was like the tales of Ba Sing Se, where we showed them in the city. And that one episode of Iroh, yes.
Singing at the tree. I bawled during that episode.
I really did. It was so sad, but so sweet at the same time.
Just thinking about it gave me a little tingle up my spine, like when you're about to cry. I'm like, no.
Just makes you go back and think, what else in this season that I wanted to bring up that I didn't take notes? I think that was pretty. The sad thing about Jet with the Lake Lao guy.
Yeah.
We never saw Jet again.
Yeah.
I don't know if that really registered, like when you're a kid, that he technically died.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember when they were leaving him, and then he said he was okay to Katara, and then you hear Toph in the back tell Sokka that he's lying because she can pick up on vibrations. If someone's
she can
lying
tell
or
when people
not.
are lying. That was, again, I just got like chills because like I forgot that he like technically does die. So, but of course they're not going to show that. Well, I mean, other people die, but they don't explicitly say like he's dead, but we all know.
Yeah, we all know. We don't see him again because we see the other members of the crew. Well, I don't remember their names. The really big guy, the little girl, and then the guy with the arrows. They come back because they helped during the Day of Black Sun. But as far as Jet himself, we don't ever see him again. No.
Poor Jet. He didn't get to have a redemption story, unfortunately.
He did at the end.
He kind of did.
He was able to break out of this hallucination to help them.
Yeah.
Oh, and then we also need to talk about Azula's like way of just sneaking in. We didn't talk about that either, into the Ba Sing Se, because that was genius. That was all her idea.
Yeah.
Because during Lost, and like when I was a kid, I was always so confused how they got the costumes. I forgot in Appa's Lost Day where Appa ended up going to Kyoshi Island, and I think Azula was tracking Appa.
Yeah, because he was like shedding.
Yeah. And they ended up fighting the Kyoshi warriors, and that's how they got them, because they ended up defeating them.
She's a mad genius.
Yeah, she really is. I would want Ty Lee's ability for the pressure points, though, even though she can't bend.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a scary talent.
That's honestly just as powerful.
It really is.
Yeah.
That whole crew is a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah,
She's like a little spider monkey that can leave you like stuck in place.
All right, guys. Well, I think that was a good discussion for this episode. Was there anything else we wanted to add?
No, not really.
I think I'm good.
No? Okay.
So tired.
Yeah, we did good though. We perked up a little bit towards the end.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
which I figured we would. But yeah, adult guys. Like we keep telling you, adulting sucks.
Don't lie to them. It's great.
Nafis,
gosh.
now who's lying now?
I keep forgetting sarcasm is hard to detect when you can't see my face.
I can see your face and I'm being sarcastic. I'm just trying to make sure you're not lying to them.
I'm not lying. That was just sarcasm all around.
Don't grow up.
Be a kid forever. But we could still be kids at heart.
Yeah,
and that's why we're talking about this.
Just enjoy childhood. I don't know if children aren't.
If you're
I
a
don't
child
know who's,
and you're listening,
if,
that is.
if you're an adolescent, enjoy it while
I was
it
gonna
lasts.
say children should not be listening to this.
No.
Even though we're talking about a kids show, y'all should not be listening to this.
Mhm. Yeah. People our age, do you miss childhood? Because we do.
Yeah.
I don't think I miss childhood. I think
No.
I just miss like the innocence of not really knowing
Yeah.
going on in the world. It's just the innocence
Mhm.
of just the happy feeling, like not having to
Lack of
worry about too much
responsibility.
stuff. Lack of
Yeah, the
responsibility.
responsibility is what gets it for me. Because I
Yeah.
just
Why do we
wanna-
always end these with adulting?
Well, we're talking about a lot of themes like
That's true.
that relate to
Yeah.
humanity and just relationships and people in general. So it's just, and it's also, I feel like we're all at that age where we're going through that kind of thing. So it makes sense that that would be what's on our minds.
Mm-hmm.
Very true. That is very true. All right. Well, let's get out of here before we do what we did in like part 1 and start talking about credit and all that.
No more adulting lessons. I'm
No
done.
more adulting.
My class is closed.
Until next time where we close out this little segment and talk about season 3. So thank you guys for listening to today's episode. You can find us everywhere that you listen to podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and give us ratings on any platform that you're using if it allows you to. You can follow us on social media, which is just Instagram and Twitter for now. I don't know if we're gonna make any other social media. Macy. And I was thinking pod. If you have any questions, comments, or a topic you think we should talk about, email us at iwasthinkingpod@gmail.com. We're still waiting for those questions. Me and Nafis would really like to do an advice column, but we need questions first, guys.
Yes.
But don't be
please send
shy.
your questions.
I know
Anything
people
and
are listening
everything.
to us. Trust me, I'm very shy, but don't be shy. I promise we're nice. I promise we're nice. Okay, well, thank you, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.